Brooke Smith here. I played Catherine Martin in Silence of the Lambs and Bates Motel as well, which I also really liked. I wish that one could have continued. And the most important advice that I think I can give you, just don't go out there. Okay? I'll say it again. Just don't go out there.
They've conquered the big screen. Now, get ready for the spin-off sure to send chills down your spine. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin in Don't Go Out There, the series.
Welcome back, everybody, to DGOT, the series. We really appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all have been enjoying these series reviews. I know we have. It's been a lot of fun. Just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network, so there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support.
We are continuing on with episodes 5 and 6 of Bates Motel, Season 1. Mike, you want to kick us off with your general thoughts?
Yeah, so I really like these episodes. I like 6 more than 5, though. A lot more happens. We get some answers. We get some conclusions in the truth, which whoever did the scene by scene called it the fucking truth, which I appreciated because I'm never against having an F word in there for no reason. I think 5 and 6 work well together. I do like 6 a lot more because we also start to see the unraveling of Norman. We get a little bit of a more peek behind the curtain into the blackout stuff. We get more answers about his dad. And look, I can understand if this isn't a backstory that you're buying, then, it's like any prequel, this is how I feel about prequels generally, is that you're answering questions I wasn't asking. So I think that's pretty much any prequel. Now, once I remove that, I'm invested in this story and these characters of Norman and Norma myself. And so and Dylan, I think Dylan really shines in these 2 episodes. Honestly, that character, there's a major arc for him in both episodes, and I like they were kind of fleshing that out. He's not just this long lost brother. He does a lot of good stuff there, and we start to develop the character of Emma just a little bit. We also, as bad as Norman ends up looking at the end of this, I think we see Norma's true colors start to come through as well with how protective she is of Norman and how she treats the other people in Norman's life. So really like that. And by the way, fuck Shelby. I'm glad that Zach Shelby gets what he deserves in these 2 episodes.
Hey, well, now it's Mike Vogel. Now calm down. Now he already went through enough in Texas Chainsaw. Let the man hang around. Damn. I'm just kidding. No, he was a piece of shit. Anywho, my general thoughts, I liked both episodes a lot, man. Like I already told you, a lot happens, a lot of reveals, a lot of drama pops off, and I agree with you. I like the twist at the end of 6 about what really happened with Norman's dad. And like you mentioned, at the very end of episode 6, I like the camera shot zooming in on his blank face, like that stare. I like that a lot. I understand, too, about the prequel stuff, but I like prequels for the most part. I like Pearl. I like Orphan First Kill, Texas Chainsaw The Beginning. I mean, there's several prequels that I like. I mean, even Final Destination 5 is fine. I like that. I mean, I like prequels as long as it's told well. But that's just me. Brian, what are your thoughts on episodes 5 and 6?
Well, all right. So first off, I know that I've been hypercritical of the show so far, and for the most part, that changes a lot in these episodes because they were the best so far this season. But if the season ended after 6, like I haven't watched ahead, but we wrapped up our entire storyline that started in episode 1, and 6 wrapped it up with a bow. So I haven't watched ahead, but what the fuck could we possibly do for the rest of the season? I mean, why was this just not 6 episodes a season of this season and just start fresh next season, starting because you basically start from scratch in episode 7. So it makes no sense to me. So to say that I'm ready for the season to be over with is an understatement because for me, it ends with these 2 episodes. Maybe I need the whole outlook of season 1 to maybe amend this statement, and I will if that's the case. But right now, I don't understand the writing decisions for a lot of this stuff in here.
I do. It's like when you put a little water in the soap dispenser because you're running low and you got to stretch it. Like that's all. To me, this show.
And if they did that, then what we just saw in episode 6 to me would have been the end of the season. And you would have stretched the tension. You would have stretched all this stuff out over a couple of more episodes. I have not watched episode 7. I've watched the beginning of it because I was like, what the fuck are we doing still? And so from what I can tell, all right, hey, let's get over the shit that just happened. All of the shit with Shelby, let's get over it and let's move on to something else. And so I don't understand why it's the same season. That doesn't make sense to me.
See, I haven't seen any of episode 7. I stopped as soon as 6 ended. But yeah, I'll say that, Nico, you said, I think it was last episode, that you're trying to figure me out because I sound like I don't like it, but I'm still giving like 7s. I decided before doing episode 5 and 6 that, you know what? I got to be true to me. I'm just straight up not having a good time watching this show. So I'm going to be a little bit more true to myself on my ratings here. That being said, 6 was a much better episode. 6 is finally what I've been wanting for 5.5 episodes before we get to it. The whole thing about how I wanted more of, Norman becoming a psycho. Like they're way too normal. And now they're not. He's not for sure. And so I thought 6 was much better. 5 to me, I just didn't care for it. The way that they're doing this prequel and this backstory is like, well, we know we got to go to town, but let's go on a scenic Sunday drive and take the longest route possible to get there. And it's annoyed me through parts of these first 5 episodes. Like I said, 6 definitely makes up for it. But yeah, I'm just kind of, it's a show that exists.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. That sounds like I hate it. I don't hate it. There's definitely worse things I've seen.
I agree with that.
One, they do come back to this. There's more meat on the bone. So
in season 1?
Yes, sit tight.
Okay.
2, now you may not like what they do, and that's totally different. But this part is not over. And there's definitely more in other seasons. But I also get what you're saying there, because this does feel like a climax, right? I mean, it really does. And I put that in my notes. I'm like, this kind of feels like, rewatching it kind of feels like this happened a lot later than I remembered. So I understand where you're coming from for sure, especially if you don't watch ahead. Like, yeah, man, I was kind of invested in this, right? The other thing I would say is, Dustin, you're not a true crime guy, right?
I mean,
like in general, like generally speaking.
Well, my thing on true crime is how, like I've said this multiple times, I've realized that documentaries are not my thing.
Right.
And podcasts, no offense to us, is not my thing. Like I just can't.
No, I get it.
I'm offended.
I get it.
I'm offended, you fuck.
But a movie about true crime,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that honestly, I think that maybe end up being your biggest disconnect, because when you have long form, like you mentioned, podcast or documentary, this like normal BS that they throw in for a lot of the serial killers is in all of those things. Like if you listen to a podcast about Ed Gein, they get into his backstory, how he grew up normal, at his mom's table eating, fucking fried chicken and all this other shit. Like you get into a lot of that stuff. And so I do understand where you're coming from. Because I do think that has I think it has a little bit to do with it, because you don't care about all this. And I can understand that, right? Like you want to see Norman Bates, the psycho, instead of the build up to him being, because I mean, even Jeffrey Dahmer was normal at one point to the outside world, right? So like, it's not like it doesn't exist in the real world. I do think if it's just not for you, then I can understand that completely.
So what you're saying is true, but I'm not saying that I don't appreciate the backstory that we're getting. To me, that's what I was saying. When we first did the first 2 episodes, I think is when I said it. This just seems like it would work much better as a
Sure.
2.5 hour long movie.
Sure.
But like what I'm fully expecting, there's going to be a full episode where it's just Norman goes to the grocery store. Like I don't need to see the ins and outs of every day to me. Now,
Yeah.
Sure. That's fair.
Go ahead,
And-
sorry.
and so, like what you're saying about they're adding stuff, yeah, to show how normal it was. I get that. Behind the curtains here, I've been watching The Chosen. It's a show that's on Prime about Christ, about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
Seen that.
the first episode starts with, the stories are taken directly from the Bible, but certain scenes and dialogue have been added in for dramatization. You're going to do that. That's completely fine. I just think that for 50 episodes, if I looked at the episode number and I see even 30 episodes, 25, 30, then I could forgive it more. But in my mind, I just can't get over the fact, like, what are they going to do for 5 seasons?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that you want to see the Psycho Norman. So let's assume they give us the Psycho Norman. I'm fucking tired of seeing the Psycho Norman after 1 or 2 seasons. I am completely on board with you. I don't understand what you're going to do for 5 seasons.
So I
don't even know what you're going to do with the rest of this fucking season.
I think it's crazy because I think that's you guys are gonna end up getting more frustrated by it, because what they actually do is flesh out all the other characters instead.
Can't wait.
Honestly,
Jesus
Dylan ends up
Christ.
being a great character. If you can remove
That doesn't bother me though, because I like
Yeah,
Dylan's
like,
character.
I understand.
I
I
like
think
Dylan's
better and
character
better.
too. We never heard of Dylan in 1960 Psycho.
No,
I mean, but
There's a
his
reason
mom
for
was just
that.
a mummy though. It's like his mom was just a mummy though. So it's
yeah,
like
he didn't get any Norma
there's
character
no,
development either.
I did some research on Psycho, and like I think the sequels to Psycho kind of explained that the
Yep.
mom might have been crazier than advertised, but like the mom in Psycho is just a mummy because he was a crazy guy, and like I
Not
can
my
believe
Psycho.
that the mom covered up for her crazy son while he was a kid.
Not my Psycho. I only acknowledge Alfred Hitchcock and Alfred Hitchcock alone.
Hey, you can't.
Man, Alfred Hitchcock sucks.
Hey, you
The
can't
Birds
skip
is trash.
Hey, you're not allowed to skip stuff that's canon. That's Oh, I know it. That's your rule. Yeah, that's your rule, buddy. That's your rule.
That's my rule. But here's the trick. I
Oh boy.
can if the first one tells the story in a sufficient manner. Now,
oh man.
If the first one was just okay, the second was trash, the third one's good, then no, I got to include the second one. But I can't stop it as a one-off.
Unless you're Brian, where you can just exclude whatever movie you want. Doesn't exist.
I'm with him on
Oh.
Halloween Ends though.
Yeah, I'm with you on
Now-
Halloween Ends too.
Now, where Brian and I disagree the most, I think, is Ninja Turtles 3. That's a fine movie.
Nerds.
I don't remember which one.
We
Ninja Turtles 3
disagree
is.
probably more on other things.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Last thing I have is so they do flesh out those characters, but they're, Dylan ends up becoming a great character, and Emma becomes a great character, and Romero becomes a really great character that I think Brian will actually really, really like. I think by the end of season 5, if he ever gets there, if we all don't die first, the Brian will end up liking Romero a lot personally. But anyway.
I don't mean to be rude or ugly, but does Emma make it to season 5?
Yeah, buddy. Oh, hey, you're gonna no, I don't want to spoil anything.
Does she get cured?
You're gonna end up
No, he's gonna fuck her, I bet, and she's gonna shoot him with her oxygen tank. That's what he's gonna do, right? He's gonna fuck her with her oxygen tank.
No.
That's what's gonna
What?
happen?
but
He's going to do
What?
what?
He's
with
gonna
the
end
oxygen
up.
tank?
I said with. Oh, wait.
You said with the oxygen.
Hey.
Jeez.
Honestly,
She ain't
I'll
walking right.
spoil it to Dustin on the side because he doesn't mind spoilers, and I don't want to spoil it for the other two.
Okay, that's fair.
He's not gonna like
I was
her.
going to say something,
That's all I'm
but
gonna
I
say.
forgot now after the oxygen tank thing.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was wild, buddy.
That is not what I meant. No respect. Hey.
You and
All right,
Rodney
guys.
Dangerfield, both old. Yes.
No, he's dead.
Truth.
I know,
dead,
he's dead.
but-
But Rodney
No
Dangerfield
respect
was
at all.
old his whole life, though. So
He was.
weird. All right, I'm doing the scene by scene for episode 5. Anybody else have anything before I get into it?
Nope, I forgot.
All right, if you think of it, just keep it to yourself. So, episode 5, Ocean View. We get another recap to start the episode that chews up a minute and a half of the allotted time. Stretch it thin, baby. Then we see Norman leave Bradley's house with the pep in your step that only comes with knocking boots. When he gets home, his mood is spoiled by the news of Norma being in prison. The boys go to visit Norma, and Dylan tells her bond is at $100,000 and they can use the motel as collateral. She says for them to leave and that it's just a big mistake that's going to clear itself up. Back at the motel, Norman is scouring through some files when Emma comes to visit and says she heard about his mom and offers to have him stay with her. He's definitely Alan from the other guys. Great comparison, Mike. He finds the deed for the motel and says he can get Norma out now. Meanwhile, Dylan asks Ethan if their bosses can give him a pay advance because he needs to get his own place. In the pokey, Shelby brings Norma some food, but she's not hungry. While Norman and Emma wait for the bail bondsman to get back, Norman tells Emma that he found the Chinese girl. What Chinese girl? The little Chinese girl. I don't know nothing about no little Chinese girl. You better take your hands off my suit. This is my favorite suit. Your mama bought me this suit. Sorry, the spirit of Rush Hour took over for a second. He says they can't go to the cops about it, and he can't answer her questions. She says okay, then plants one on Norman, but he's not feeling it. The bail bondsman returns, and Norman tells Emma that Norma didn't do it. Later, Norman texts Bradley and then gets a text that his mom's bond was posted and she'll be released at 9 a.m. tomorrow. When she's released, she isn't pleased with Norman, and then we see them in an attorney's office. She gives him the silent treatment and then mocks the attorney for her age and her plan of attack while maintaining her innocence. She storms out of the office, and on the way home, she berates Norman for getting some nookie the night that she got pinched. She blames Dylan and pulls the car over to ask him how he could tell Dylan what happened to her, and he says that she scares him. Bad move because now he's got to walk 10 miles back home when she kicks him out of the car and drives off. That was the open. What'd you guys think?
First off, David Straighten, he directed this, the only episode of the series he was involved in. Big TV directing career. Nothing really stand out really in this or his career, which is a little bit impressive actually. Because, I mean, if you're the showrunner, you pull so many different directors, but yet most of the episodes still pretty much look like they're shot the same way by the same person. So I don't know. I don't know if you see that very often or not. I just kind of thought that was impressive. I didn't mean that as insulting.
That sounded like you just said he was remarkably unremarkable. So that's great.
I mean, I did, but also I was trying to say like all of the people that have directed episode this season, they all direct the same way. I don't know. Anyway, I also have to admit that it's never not jarring to see Norman in bed with someone that looks like Nicola Peltz, which also, like we've mentioned, not even remotely believable, but these writers apparently think so. I also need to call out the fact that Oregon doesn't have a bail bondsman and is one of only 4 states that do not, as well as the fact that he's only 17. That was clearly stated in the previous episode, so he could not legally post bond for anyone in any state anyway, since he's a minor. So I think that's a really easy script doctor fix. I mean, you just have him sign power of attorney over to Emma, who, let's say, is 18 because of her issues. She was held back a year in school. I mean, it's really just one line of dialogue to fix that. But you have to care. Also, something I just thought about watching it this time, we've and said forever on the show about Apple only letting iPhones be used by good guys in movies or shows. Does this break that pattern since Norman Bates has an iPhone? Or is it okay because he's kind of the victim / good guy thus far in this? I don't know. Interesting take. Is he a bad guy in the show? Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if that rule was in place yet. That's something I should probably look up instead of just butting into what the fuck you were saying. But that feels like it wasn't in place yet. Maybe I'm wrong. But you're definitely right. Like I thought about that too. It's in my notes too. Like, bad guy holding an iPhone. It's kind of interesting. I mean, look, the dude is a murderer, so no matter how you want to spin those murders, I mean, it's still a murderer. So, I mean, my man Dexter's not out here running around with an iPhone, Anyway, right.
Decent open though. Decent open. Nothing really stand out to me besides a couple of things I said. Just progressing the story. Oh, another spoiler, and being so intertwined with license plates as I am, I had to point it out. Norma's Mercedes has Arizona plates on the front and back. I mean, yeah, it's Oregon, but they probably hadn't gotten a chance to change them over. They're too busy killing people. But even if it's just Arizona only requires plates on the back of the vehicle. and only issues 1 per car. So, details.
You know, I know what you say about the recaps, and I'm going to stand on business every fucking week that one of you guys criticizes the recaps. This show was running in real time from week to week on A&E. The recaps were necessary, brother. They were necessary in case you missed a week. It wasn't like now where you could just go back and watch
Dexter
it.
did them too, so
yeah, you can't just go. It wasn't like that back then where you could just find it. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like that back then
Can't
either.
hear you.
Okay. Anyway, shout out to the recap because that shit is helpful for me to get me in the mood, get me in the context of fucking Bates Motel and any show and every Friday the 13th through the first 4. So anyway, first of all, I know we're shitting on this, but I think we should clap it up for Norman. That is what I'm talking about, buddy. That's good stuff. Anyway, you know, I can actually buy just because of the true crime that I've listened to. I can actually buy that at one point, Norman Bates is a normal 17-year-old dude that just wants to get laid. I mean, not every killer ever has had the worst life of all time. There is some normability, making up fucking words here. There is some normalcy in these killers' life. Now, granted, his life hasn't been super normal, so there's a lot to unpack. First of all, fuck you, Norma. You know, I mean, you're so manipulative. Then you make Norman feel bad for being out getting laid when you were just 1.5 episodes ago out doing the exact same goddamn thing. But anyway, I feel like everyone's really mad about Keith Summers being dead for no reason. Like, should we not all be celebrating? Like, we know this man sucked, right? Like, even his family knew that he sucked ass. Like, we don't have to make this a big stink that Keith Summers is dead. Fuck that guy, man. Also,
Well, especially since they're more tore up about Keith Summers dying than Bradley's dad getting set on fire. What are we doing?
100. And they're, by the way, they're all they're all involved in the same bullshit in the town. I mean, come on, man. Like, they're all scummy people, which everything, you know, will show in time. But by the way, that's bold to ask somebody for $5K in advance that you just met like 2 weeks ago. That's, you know, I at least got to know you for a little while. 5K is rough. Anyway, you know, Emma is not the kind of person that you could just casually drop these details to. And to me, this is the first episode that kind of shows Norman can also be a dick. He's also delusional, right? I mean, again, we see it in episode 6 as well. He's kind of thinking the wrong way. His thinking is warped, and we kind of start to see that here. But that's a brutal pull away kiss by Emma, man, or excuse me, by Norman. That's like when you get stuck on kiss cam and you have to sit there and ignore it like you're not on the fucking Tron. That's what that was like. That was tough by Norman there. By the way, here's Norma being ungrateful as always to people in her life, and you know, like we start to see, Norma can be just as fucking annoying as Norman. Like, there are two sides of the same coin. They both piss me off on a regular basis. And by the way, this is going to be a very regular thing throughout the series. Not as much in this season, but as the show goes on, they both start to piss me off. They're annoying as fuck. And again, she chastises him for getting laid when she does it all the fucking time. But then there's Norman, who's also really annoying because he needs help. He's a fucking psycho. There's the pun. And he accused her of being the one that needs it, which again, planting seeds of that story and how that ends up unraveling. That's all I had.
Hang on. Norma chastises Norman for getting laid all the time when she doesn't. Bro, he's a minor. He's a kid.
Doesn't
This
matter.
is parenting. Yeah.
He's 17. He's almost out. Mine. That doesn't mean she has to be throwing it around for everybody. God damn.
You ever heard the old saying, do as I say, not as I do?
Yeah, and I think it's bullshit. Hold yourself to the same standard. Standard is the standard, according to Mike Norvell. Oh, sorry.
No, I remember what I was thinking of earlier before Brian just dropped about Emma getting fucked by her oxygen tank. But anywho, Mike, I remember when we did American Horror Story 1984. Those two didn't really care about Richard Ramirez's additional story as well. So I think I'm picking up that they don't like characters getting stuff added to their story. Is that fair? Am I reaching on that? I'm just asking.
You guys don't like lore building? Come on.
I mean, Richard Ramirez, it wasn't essential to the story. It was like a side. I don't like side plots that introduce like real life people. Like the movie Zodiac, great movie, but I don't want Zodiac popping up as a side character in another show either. That was my
I
issue with
could
Richard
see
Ramirez. This is something different.
But is it similar? Kind of? Am I barking up the right tree? Kind of.
No, I mean maybe sure if you want to paint me into a corner like that, that's fine. But
No,
Nobody
I think
puts
my
Dustin in a
issue is
corner.
just it
Nobody.
just truly feels to
We're
me
going to get
like
some
they
gum.
are stretching this thin. They got a whole house to paint and only one can of paint.
I don't feel that way, but I understand where you're coming from. Anywho, shout out to the foot fetish gang starting this episode off. Zoomed right on in on Bradley's feet. Did Quentin Tarantino direct this episode? I know Brian already said who the actual director was, but man,
That makes it more watchable.
we'd see feet for 15 minutes of the 43-minute runtime. Norman making the walk of pride back home. Good for that young king. Never understood people leaving milk out while they eat cereal. I don't know why, but that bothers me so much. Dude, your milk is getting hot. Just put it back in the fridge. If you want to pour you another bowl, just go get that shit again. Norma is fed up of Norman and Dylan. You can tell she's ready to explode on them two. Saying it again, I love the show card reveal every episode. I just think it's a really nice touch. Yeah, come on, Norman. You ever been in a small town? I've lived in one for most of my life. The news, the rumors, they spread quick, brother. Yeah, they're going to find out. Wild as hell to think bosses of a drug operation are going to give you a $5,000 advance when you just started. I respect the fact you're willing to ask, but you're barking up the wrong tree there. It blows my mind you can pay a $100,000 bail bond at a building that is this dumpy looking. Didn't buy that at all. I love the exchange between Norman and Emma. What a reveal, and be for real, Norman. How did you expect her to react to hearing about Jow? Been there, Norman, reading texts, reminiscing on first hookups. It's a bad place to be, OG. Just move on. Chuckled at Norman asking, when will you look at me? And all she does is a quick glance and looks away. I thought that was hilarious. Norma is spitting hot fire, but none of it makes sense. I didn't do it. Doesn't work in a court of law, Norma. It's like people just can't walk up to a judge and say, I didn't do it, and they just get away with it. Doesn't work like that. Norma, give your son a break. He's stressed out too, but cheeks were offered. You got to be for real in a situation like this. He's going to go get them cheeks. I do think she has a right to be upset with him telling Dylan what happened, though. I can buy that. I didn't expect her to kick him out of the car for real, though. She's pissed. She loves her little Norman, but I actually kind of laughed when she kicked his ass out. I thought it was a good opening to the episode, and I thought Vera's run back to the driver's seat was hilarious. Like, she's not the best runner I've ever seen.
All right. Norman is walking down the road when Brother of the Year Dylan pulls up on his bike. Dylan gives Norman a ride, and Norman looks like the happiest girl in the world on the back of Dylan's motorbike. At home, Dylan says Norma is always going through things and says the best thing he can do is walk away from her. Dylan tells Norman he's getting his own place by the beach and says if Norma goes to jail, Norman is moving in with him. But even if she doesn't, Norman should still move in with him. When Dylan meets back up with Ethan, Ethan tells Dylan there's a nice place for rent for $2,200 a month and hands him a big bag of cash. The money is from Ethan, not the boss, and he says he knows Dylan is good for the repayment. While they talk, a squirrely little fella casually walks up to the truck and blasts Ethan right in the neck. Dylan rushes Ethan to the hospital, and they rush Ethan back. Before the hospital workers can talk to Dylan anymore, he makes like a banana and splits. Norma meets up with Shelby, and he apologizes to her. He says they can't see each other for a while. She tries to leave, but he stops her and drops the worst 3 words possible. He says he loves her like a complete idiot, and they kiss. He says he's going to think of something and he'll figure it out. Later that night, Shelby goes to work and hears Romero is checking on a burglary. He sends the secretary to look for some forms and takes that chance to unhook the security cameras and go snooping. He grabs the envelope that has the carpet fibers in it, hooks the cameras back up, and sits at his desk when the forms return. The next set of scenes is the ending.
A good thing my man Dylan happened to be riding by, because that is a long-ass walk. Norma's fucking crazy, man. That's border goddamn child abuse. I mean, I'm all for kicking your kid out, making him hoof it for a mile. What was it, 10? God damn. Fun fact, though, about this scene, Max Theroux, who plays Dylan, is a very experienced and proficient motorcyclist in real life. So he was able to do all the motorcycle work himself with Freddie Highmore riding on the back, and it was Freddie's first time on a motorcycle. So I think
why he
that's
looks so
why they were
happy.
able. I think that's why they were able to get so many riding shots of them. It did kind of seem like it went on a little long, but that makes sense knowing that they didn't have to hide from any stuntmen or anything. I enjoyed the convo between Dylan and Norman at the table as well, which happens a lot this episode. They feel like real brothers. It really made me like their dynamic. And I'm sure over time Norma's going to drive that apart, but right now I really enjoy it. And I talk shit about the director, but there was a really cool shot here when Ethan and Dylan were walking and talking about borrowing that money. It starts out showing you the reflection in the glass of the stores that they're walking by and then pans over to them. And I really liked that a lot. I thought it was awesome looking. And bam, Ethan, favorite kill of the episode. No, man, I'm just kidding. I know it's the only one. I'm just being stupid, but holy shit, it was out of nowhere. I don't know where everyone that they literally showed walking the streets was, but that was a great scene. And I know later, okay, so this is weird. I know later he tells the big boss, I can't Gil, I think's his name, that he was already gone when he got to the hospital. But damn, like, what if they revived him? I mean, he just took off and just assumes he's dead. Honestly, I really don't know why he even took off. I mean, they were jumped and he was assassinated. I mean, they didn't do anything. But I mean, I guess in his mind he didn't want to bring any heat to himself at all. But shit, hopefully that hospital didn't have any cameras. And it's repeated very often phrase in this show, quote, small town, like nobody fucking saw him and knows who he. Come on
Well,
with that.
I think that his natural instinct was to just get out of there because he works with this guy in the drug business and he has a big bag of cash in the truck. So it doesn't look good. The optics aren't great.
I mean,
But I get what
I
you're
guess
saying.
not, but I mean, you think nobody saw him in there and there was no repercussions for that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, then again, there's only what, 2 cops in the entire town, so
Except for that one time they showed up at Normus, there was like
except for
15
the
of
one
them.
time. Yeah, we'll get back to that at the end of episode 6, by the way. The rest of this kind of answers the question of why Shelby hadn't helped her thus far that I had. But man, dropping the L word already, like Dustin mentioned, I mean, Vera must be putting it on him. And listen, this is fucking stupid. I'm just going to call it out. I'm an IT guy. You can't do what he's doing with the security cameras at all. Just everything about that is wrong. And I won't get into it, but that's all bullshit. Right there with my guy. I mean, he's unplugging network patch cables. Also, he remembers where each one went. I was watching that like freaking out, going, "You don't know where the fuck plug that back into." But all that quick. I mean, there's no labels. I looked. I paused it. DVRs have alarms to prevent this very thing. Look, there's lots of issues here, a lot. But go ahead.
Uh, okay. First of all, my man Norman riding on the back of her motorcycle. Come on, man. You can't have Riz in the first part of the episode and then ride on the back like a bitch. Have you ever seen the episode of King of the Hill where Bobby becomes friends with that group of high school girls and he hops on the back of the bike and Hank about passes out like, oh, no, oh.
I thought you were going to bring up the episode where Hank and Peggy buy a bike and Hank's glasses gets broke.
Yeah,
So
and
Peggy has to drive.
That's another one. Yes, I was just playing, everybody. I just meant, you got to be a little more assertive is all if you're Norman Bates. Anywho, by the way, that scene lasted too long. I mean, that's a cool fun fact that you revealed, Brian, but the riding around took a little longer than I would have wanted it to. But I do like that they are acting like real brothers here. I think, it's believable enough that these two could be related, and I like that they have this chemistry. And I don't think Dylan hardly ever is wrong or misguided, especially at this conversation at the table. I think we as an audience are starting to see how Norma has warped Norman's way of thinking about everything. And she is manipulative, but Norman is no better. But then you have to kind of ask yourself, why is Norman the way he is? It's because of Norma. So again, just starting to lay a lot of groundwork there, which I like. This man wants Norman to move out at 17. Who the fuck does he think he is? Sean Hunter? This ain't fucking Boy Meets World. Just can't move out because fucking Chet leaves town on a truck deal. Come on, man. You gotta stay home with your mom at least one more year. But look, this man just gives Dylan $5,000, says, I know you're good for it. I've only known this guy for a little bit, man. You know, in a warped world, Dylan could have been the one that put out the hit on him. We don't know. Fuck him. Oh, you turn me down? Fuck it. I'm gonna have you killed. Not what happened, but still, I like that kill. I thought it was, well, one that kind of catches you off guard, and he is one of the good guys. But I think, Brian, the reason that he runs away from the hospital is because they're involved in the drug business. He doesn't want any kind of scent on their trail to come back to them. Not saying that I would have left him, but I think that was probably Dylan's way of thinking there was like, this is a little too murky. I got cash in the truck. I don't want to be involved in any of this. I'm just going to leave him, which, again, I can understand given the situation.
I'm just saying it's not realistic. That's all.
And no one's getting arrested in this fucking town for that anyway. This is the only thing keeping the town afloat is this fucking pop business that everybody's involved in. So I think he should have been fine. Like, yeah, we're on a drug run. Who's gonna narc? The fucking pot business paid for the hospital that they're in. I don't think so. Anyway, oh man, Shelby's just such a fucking sleazeball dude. Like, he's willing. Dude, he's the kind of person that makes me mad where he'll do one bad thing to justify another bad thing to try to make himself seem like a good guy. Makes no sense. But last thing, Norma must have outstanding box, my guys. I'm not tampering police evidence for anybody. No fucking way. So she was throwing that thing. Don't look at me like that. Leave it in, pal. Just like Officer Shelby did, apparently. Go ahead, Nico.
All right.
Well, why?
Oh my gosh. All right. Let me follow that up with some very basic talk right here. If I'm Norman, I'd be mad as hell if I had to for real walk 10 miles back home. You know, me in real life, I'm a fat sumbitch. I'm not trying to do that. I need that exercise, but 10 miles, good Lord. I thought it was pretty convenient that Dylan would just so happen to be riding right there on that part of the road, but I'd be grateful for a damn ride. I mean, I don't want to ride on the back of a little motor scooter either, but I'd rather do that than walk 10 miles. I thought it was nice to see Dylan making effort to bond with and help Norman out. I did like to see their like brotherhood kind of like growing here. Look at my man, Ethan, the Asian brother, being a good dude. We love to see it. But he ends up getting shot here, and it got a huge pop out of me on my first watch. Holy shit. And am I tweaking here, or is this a goof? Like, Ethan is holding the wrong side of his neck as he's being driven to the hospital, right? Like, am I tweaking? I feel like he got shot in his left side and kept holding his right side because he was in the driver's seat. I don't know.
Exit wound, baby.
Well, you got to hold both of them, man. Got to hold both of them. Zach broke out the magic 3 words to calm Norma down, and it worked like a charm. Like Herman Boone said, it's like Novocaine. Give it time. It always works. I actually had a line about Dustin in there, too, but I took it out because I didn't know if he'd want me to keep bringing up him talking about love all the time. Good point, Zach. In the back, what kind of directions are those to the office lady? It's like, come on. Like, if you know where these files are, you just go get them for me. Mike bouncing around, doing some things, looking for the right inputs for the security cams. Crooked cops, never would have guessed it, but I appreciate Brian's IT knowledge. I had no idea if that was legit or not, but hey, he's like me back there. Hey, just plug it in and plug it out.
That's what Shelby was doing.
All right, here's the ending.
Oh.
Dylan is driving around town and he sees Ethan's gunman walking down the yellow brick road. That's a short joke because he was a little fella. And takes the opportunity to mow him down with his truck. The next day, Emma is doing some research on Keith Summers at the coffee shop and looks up his boat registration. Meanwhile, Norma is looking at the website for the motel when her attorney calls her to tell her the case is over. The fiber sample has been lost. Norman calls Bradley and gets faked out by her voicemail and then leaves a pathetic message rambling on like a stage 5 clinger. Norma rushes in to tell Norman the good news, and they're finally happy together again until Norman isn't thrilled when Norma said it must have been Shelby that helped her. He rushes out the door, and Emma just happens to be pulling up at that exact moment with a plan. They head out to the shore, and Emma is trying to tell Norman her story, but he's more interested in the texts that aren't coming into his phone. He tells her he shagged Bradley, and they're together, but she says it doesn't mean anything if Bradley didn't change her Facebook status. Back to business, she tells him Keith owned a boat, and later that night, they go aboard, and now all of a sudden, Norman is worried about B&Es. Didn't stop him before. Emma picks the prize behind door number 1 and nothing. But door number 2 is a different story. The Chinese girl pops out like Mr. Chow popped out of the trunk in the desert, and the junior detectives whisk her away to a relaxing getaway at the Bates Motel. Norma heads out of the office after a long day of no customers and sees Emma's car outside. She rushes into the motel room and finds Emma and the girl. Norman tells Norma that she's the girl from Shelby's basement, but Norma denies it. Norma rushes back to the office and grabs a newspaper with Shelby's picture on it, and the girl confirms that it is him. Norman apologizes to Norma, and the episode ends. What'd you guys think?
Did anyone else notice how the dude that Dylan runs down, the one that murdered Ethan, he like stops and then turns around and then just like stands there as his vehicle's approaching. And before he decides to run, I did when I was watching, I did my Ron Burgundy, what an idiot, what a loser impression while I was watching that. And I take it back. This is my favorite kill in this episode. I have no idea why, but when you just hear that thump thump as he runs him over and then he just like jolts in the seat, I don't know. That sent me. I laughed there.
How many
Something
people
else
have
I
you
had.
mowed down? That was
Don't you worry about.
that was
Don't
crazy.
worry about that. I'll laugh when I do it too. And something else I had a little trouble understanding, and I know it's next episode, but okay. We're going on the boat that finding Nico's sister, and I'm doing scene by scene next episode, so I'm gonna just ask it here. So please chime in here. But you put Keith Summers' belt back on a boat that belonged to Keith Summers. So I guess I don't understand how it makes it any different than if you find any belt on his boat or in his belongings. I mean, since you can't say you can say you found it at the Bates house anymore. I mean, because that was how long ago? What are you going to say? I mean, you forgot to mention it before. And if Shelby was going to come up with something, couldn't he just grab literally anything from the boat that he has access to and say he found it in the Bates house? Look, I guess I don't see how this solves anything or what the point of getting the belt was anymore. Can someone please explain this to me like I'm 5?
I don't know. I can't because
I mean, does that make sense to you? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
Like, what does it matter? Why do you have to get that belt back now?
Because he has that over their head.
But what I'm saying is, like, even if you got the belt back, couldn't Shelby just say he go grab another belt off his boat because it's Keith Summers' boat? He's probably got tons of fucking clothes in there.
Well, I'm guessing Norman's fingerprints would have been on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some DNA stuff to it, I would imagine. Plus, he's just using it as a manipulative tool, right? I mean, he's
Plus
has it over their heads.
Well, even that, what's he going to say? Like, oh, I forgot to mention I had this evidence from a week ago.
That's
you know,
that's what I was going to say.
He could say he found it yesterday.
He just found it, and I'm guessing there's no good way to put this, but I'm guessing some of Norma's DNA might be on that belt too, at least on like the buckle.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
That's a good point, Brian, because if you found it when you raided the house or searched the house, but then you hid it, like you would be in trouble for that, right? For not bringing it up earlier, like when you originally found it.
Yeah, and it's been like too long, I think, to go back and do that. Not that it matters, because there's not an answer, I guess, to it because we ignore it. But I mean, just my trying to make sense of it, I don't think the belt mattered anymore, personally.
I think it did because he was, again, had it over their head. He had the belt and the carpet fiber as evidence to put both of them behind bars if he wanted to. So I don't disagree. Of course, he could have done something else, I'm sure, because he's a cop and he's apparently one of the 4 cops in town. But I just think they needed it from a narrative standpoint. Like, not, I'm not saying it's great writing, but I will say it makes sense in my head. Anyway, sorry. This is a whole family full of murderers, man. This is a whole goddamn family full of murderers. Dylan, out of nowhere, runs a motherfucker over, which, by the way, I still like Dylan. He's not that kind of murderer. He's this kind of murderer. He's like Dexter, justified sometimes, except Dexter's not always justified. Anyway, look, man, I'm just going to say it. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. Norma must have laid terrible pipe, bro. Fucking Bradley ain't calling his ass back for nothing. She done forgot about this motherfucker getting sent straight to voicemail. Norma must have done a terrible job. Terrible. Sorry, brother. It happens. It's probably his first time. Can't expect the man to be perfect first time. God damn. Have a little fucking respect around here. Anywho, I sound like that, dude. I sound like that episode of South Park where all those guys get mad for having small penises. Come on, man. This mom's is tripping, man. Anyway, look, how mad can Norman be? Now, again, we know what Shelby has done. he tried to tell Norma what Shelby had done, but Shelby is also the person that just got your mom cleared of murder charges. So that would be hard emotionally to kind of weigh those two things against each other. I will admit, but I don't know how mad you can be at your mom here. However, I feel fucking bad for Emma here, man. Like I've said, Emma becomes a great character in my mind. I feel really bad for her here, having to just kind of just sit there and deal with Norman's like, I'm with Bradley now. Huh? Are you? You know, I know in your mind you think hooking up once is enough, but brother, she ain't called you back. That's a hint. Got to learn how to take them hints in life. It'll get better for you. But it was only a hookup for her, and Emma would have been a ride or die if he chose Emma. Jackie Kennedy all the fucking way. Okay. Instead, he went with the hot girl. I understand. But I will say this side plot as they find the girl, I was really not interested in. Now, when they find her, it makes sense, but we spend a little too much time looking around this boat, getting to the boat. And again, I'm not invested in Norman and Emma as a duo. Like they don't, something doesn't click for me yet. Anyway, again, Norma just got cleared of murder, and you bring this trafficking victim to her hotel. You are bringing more crime to someone that just got off for murder. That's crazy thinking. But again, glad they got her somewhere safe, supposedly. And man, my heart would break here because this is really tough for Norma, I'm sure, in real life. Could you imagine this man just kind of saved your whole life, your whole deal, and you find out that he's a monster, one of the worst kind of fucking people in the entire world? And last thing I have, great acting by, and I didn't get the name, whoever plays the victim here, the fear that her face shows when she sees that picture of Shelby is really, really sad. Just fucking awful. Could not imagine. Don't want to imagine. Just fucking terrible. Go ahead.
Yeah. Dylan said, I took that personal, chasing down Ethan's attacker. But how the hell did you get ran over by this big ass truck and like this, like storage, like it's like a big storage shed for everybody. And like the halls are really narrow he's driving through. It's like, how did you get fucking ran over? Like, what kind of criminal are you? It reminded me of Ryan Phillippe and fucking, I Know What You Did Last summer. Like, how did you get ran over, dude? Like, just move. If I was Norma and found out the fiber sample just disappeared, well, I'm about to get paused so crazy. I'd go rock Zach's world like never before. But anywho.
All right, man.
Norman acting even weirder than usual. Bradley rocked this young man's world and got him down bad. Shout out to Usher. Go ahead and start playing those sad songs, brother, because that's all she just used you, man. You got to accept it. Him casually revealing he slept with Bradley to Emma made me chuckle, and he's not absorbing the truth that Emma is revealing. You can tell she's hurt too, but she keeps it pushing. This was a great reveal to me as well in my first watch of this episode. I was not expecting this Chinese girl to be held captive on this boat. What a jump scare, her popping out behind the door. I thought it was horrifying for her. And shout out to Emma's orange bug. Not quite as cool as Herschel's blue truck, but a damn fine motor vehicle. I would like to have it myself. What a sight for Norma. Her son was right all along. Like you mentioned, Mike, about great facial acting, but I thought Vera had great facial acting too, processing the news from Jal. I thought it was a great episode start to finish. I guess I might be alone in that one. Action and drama.
So for me, something that I've always wondered is, if I'm being chased by someone in a vehicle, why they always just run straight? Serpentine, buddy, serpentine. Like, he didn't try to duck off into an alleyway, which I don't know, there may not have been one. And then also, I think the best course of action would have been like, as soon as the vehicle gets close, get as close, tight to the wall as you can.
You're
Nah, let's just run right down the middle. Let's make it easy on him.
Or just lay down real quick when he's going fast.
Yeah. You're supposed to run away from it like you do a bear or alligator. You're supposed to fucking zigzag,
serpentine,
man.
zigzag.
Yeah, man. Come on.
So I just got my final thoughts on the episode, and I'll turn the reins over to Brian. I just, during this episode is when I realized that this show just isn't doing it for me. I was being really generous with my scores because I do think it's well made and everything, but I'm just not a big fan of the story of it. The story's got more moving parts than a V8 combustion engine, and very few of them seem to be steering us in the direction of Norman being the same Norman from Psycho at this point. I just can't keep giving high scores for something I'm just not enjoying. So to live my truth, I gave this one a 5.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple of trivias here. Something I thought was I don't know, cool little detail, but when Norman gets the text from the bail bondsman, the date on his phone is Monday, April 15th. That happens to be the same date that this episode aired on originally. And when Norma is trying to disprove that Shelby was involved in the Asian sex trafficking, she shows Zhao, which I didn't even know that was her name, Zhao, a newspaper with the headline "Local Sheriff Takes Top Honors at 23rd Annual Woodchuck Festival" with a picture of Shelby below it, and Shelby is a deputy, not a sheriff.
All right.
Get it together. Get it together, fucking team of writers. Oh, speaking of getting it together, I'm doing episode 6. Everybody ready for that?
Yep.
All right, episode 6. I wrote the fucking truth, but it's just the truth. After a recap, we open up with Norma out on the front porch where Norman tries to comfort her and she freaks the fuck out, needing to talk to Shelby. She takes off towards the bins and fights off Norman, who's trying to stop her. He Dukes of Hazzard dives into the car and she does donuts in the parking lot. This is kind of laughable a little bit. Norman's able to grab the keys and throws them out the window, being the actual stable one at the moment. Emma just watches all of this unfold. Her eyes are wide and just says, shit. As Norma finally gives in. I laughed. We cut to Dylan on the phone with the big boss man. It's probably not Raymond Washington Trailer, by the way. The big boss man of the company he works for, Gil. He meets with him and tells him what happened with Ethan and how he avenged his death. Gil's happy with him and tells him he did the right thing, tells him how to dispose of Ethan's truck. And then we time jump to that happening and Dylan meeting his new partner, Remo. We jump back to the house where Norma and Norman convince Emma to let Nico's sister stay overnight and report Shelby to the police the next day. And I don't know if I missed something, but we stay up all night here because she's saying tomorrow, and it is tomorrow because it's literally daytime outside. So the whole time thing has me jacked up here. But anyway, after another weird time jump, it's night again, and Norma's getting ready so she can go see Shelby and try to find that belt herself. Dylan walks in and they tell her about Nico's sister, and he thinks that belt is on the boat. He tells Norman to come on and Norma to take that lipstick off. Go ahead, Nico.
Fuck is going on? All right. I didn't know my sister was in the show. I didn't know I had a sister, to be honest with you. But anywho, picking up where I left off, Norma is in pure disbelief processing the news her lover is actually a corrupt trafficking rapist. Great job by Vera, as always. And you mentioned the cars and the donuts, doing the donuts in the parking lot. I bet that was a fun scene to shoot, wrestling in the car, driving around on the Pebblestone driveway. I thought it looked fun to me. I bet they had a good time. Going above and beyond at work and got recognized. Good for you, Dylan. I can't relate at all. Bosses nowadays just performance punish. If you know, you know. It hurt my heart to see that nice truck go up in flames. I would love to have that rig. Man, that hurt me. They could have sold that truck to me. They did not have to burn it up like that. Hurt seeing Giles' arm full of needle holes. Poor girl's been tortured and abused, and it's heartbreaking knowing that this is a reality to so many young girls, and boys out there in the trafficking world. It's heartbreaking. It's disgusting. I admire Emma wanting to get this girl justice, and I thought it was a beautiful moment for Emma hugging Norma after being told she deserves better. This was one of them hugs that you don't forget. But it was all fake on Norma's end. You could tell as soon as Norma let go of the hug, it was all an act. Norma said, job's not done. Got to get that belt. And look at Norma. She got 2 ride or die sons. We love to see it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, man, it'd be really hard for Norma here, right? Because like I said in the last episode, he just freed her essentially, and internally, I mean, this would just be the worst fucking outcome ever, man. It's just golly. This Norma Norman dynamic, I'm not just like this massive fan of. Gets worse too, but I mean, it is interesting. It's kind of the whole crux of him becoming the Norman Bates that we all know. Just this twisted dynamic duo, right? And now I will say, I know I may be alone in this, but occasionally I like these justified killings that they kind of have to go in on together. So it's a mixed bag for me. But Dylan is deep in this, man. There are not many not many businesses in the world where you can kill somebody and come up the ladder. Good for him, man. All of a sudden, runs over one guy. Now he's one of the favorites. That's what I'm fucking talking about, buddy. If that's all it took, never mind. I I will say I feel bad for his partner here. I would fucking hate working for someone that much younger than me. That would suck. That'd be a hard time. And that may drive me to quit. Not gonna lie. Emma really trying to be normal here, right? I mean, be fucking normal and call the cops and report things that report bad people to the police, even though he is a police. But I feel like if you reported it to Romero, who has a backbone for the most part, I think it would have been a good idea. But nope, she gets involved with these fucks who are fucked in the head, and she's being manipulated here so much. Poor Emma, just on the manipulation train with the Bateses, especially by Norma. Last one, I just like Dylan, man. He's the fucking smart one. He's the fucking sensible one. He murders too, but he murders in the right way. That's all I had. Go ahead.
Yeah, after the recap filler, I like that we pick up right at the scene where we left off with Norma in shock. Nice bit of irony with Emma saying, I can't imagine a guy you're really into being a monster when she's ended Norman Bates. A pretty tense moment when Dylan told his boss what happened. Gil's lack of expression made you prepare for the worst, but then we hear he's pleased with Dylan. It's pretty good stuff there. I like that scene. No shot. Dylan just stood there that close when the truck blew up, though. Like, that would have knocked him on his keister. Give me a break. Dylan's exchange with Remo was annoying, just very generic back and forth about their age and experience to me. But we do hear that Remo is working for Dylan, which is a development. And I like Dylan stepping up to help Norma and Norman. He's trying to be a part of the family, which is a good development for his character. I think it's a decent enough open.
We cut to Dylan and Norman in the car having a nice conversation where Dylan still tries to convince him to get away from Norma and come live with him. And she more than likely killed his father for the insurance money, by the way. They arrive at the boat and they're able to find the belt, eventually tossing it into what I can only imagine is the Pacific Ocean, given its origin. Back at the house, Shelby pulls up. Uh-oh. And he wants some more of that sweet, sweet Norma open-faced roast beef sandwich.
All right.
Woo!
All right.
She reluctantly agrees, but instead of being a normal person and getting him away from the hotel, maybe going to do in the car or even in the fucking house that they're staying at, or texting Dylan and Norman using a cell phone because this is modern day. Literally anything else than what she did. Nope. She takes him to the room next to where they're hiding the girl to fuck him. And she just lays there uninterested and lets him go to Pound Town. And I mean, even if you make this awful choice, be loud, be into it. Let the girl know that there's someone next door doing this shit. Whatever. Anything besides what she did. And, well, he hears water coming down the pipes. And Norma does the worst job of lying I've ever heard. And Shelby goes to investigate, gun drawn. He opens the door and finds his former sex slave. She takes off into the forest, and after tossing Norma into the wall, Shelby takes off after her. Norman and Dylan come back, and Norma listens to an entire diatribe before saying, oh yeah, Shelby's here with a gun, and ran off after the girl. This bitch pisses me off so much. Look, Shelby returns and holds them at gunpoint, taking Dylan's gun as well. He forces them back into the house to, quote, talk to them. There, he physically assaults Norma, causing Norman to black out and attack Shelby, knocking the gun out of his hand. I mean, it's like Shelby was never even trained as a cop. Seriously awful. He does manage to somehow throw Norman's super strong bodybuilder physique into a wall and knock him out. And Dylan and Shelby both have a shootout as Norma tends to a knocked out Norman on the floor. Dylan gets him in the leg after taking one to the shoulder himself and is about to execute him when he's out of bullets. And the next set of scenes is the ending. And I'm sorry, I just think this scene was terribly done all the way around. Nothing looked real to me. But anyway, what do you say, Nico?
I disagree with you, brother. But anywho, that's seems to be, man, me and Mike are just like those tag teams, like where we're getting our asses beat and like we're just like fighting to get to each other, and like the crowd is like cheering us on and we're like trying to tag each other in.
Hey, Nico, don't worry about that. This is a beloved show. They're the ones in the minority. We're the baby faces going over winning the belts, brother.
Yeah.
Me and Mike don't usually tag team either. That's the most wild part of it. Usually we're on the
Scope.
biggest disagreements, but anywho, I'm enjoying the two brothers getting along, raiding the boat, looking for the belt. You know, Vin Diesel, he's somewhere smiling right now, thinking about family. We love to see it. Pretty obvious. Dylan thinks Norma killed Norman's father the way he keeps asking about it. And I love Freddie Highmore's line delivery every time he has pressure put on him. He's my dad. She wouldn't do that. I thought it was great line delivery by him. Norma sees the last person she wants to see right now, Deputy Zach. This man is aching for it, and Norma is not feeling it. She's not doing well hiding it. A lot of nerves and emotions running through her, I'm sure. But I agree with you, Brian. You really didn't have to take her to the hotel room right beside the girl, but I get that for sure. I don't like the decision to toss the belt into the ocean, really. I mean, they literally just found the killer's hand there. It's not likely they would find the belt, but, you know, it's something I just wouldn't risk after the killer's hand being found. This is one of the worst sex scenes I've ever seen. Lord, if I ever had a lady react to me like this, my confidence would be shot. I'd probably just go into hiding. And oh boy, Deputy went from laying pipe to investigating pipe. Another great reveal, the girl Shelby's been holding captive is in Norma's motel. What a moment. Norma saves Jow from being shot and slammed into the wall and ground. The action is about to go crazy, and I'm ready. What a shitty day for Norma. Just dealt with Shelby and the girl. Now Dylan drops the news Norman is moving out. This girl's had a hell of a day, hadn't she? Too much talking, and Shelby is back. Didn't have to get in the truck, but running away or hiding in a room would have been smart. Like they're just having a whole family discussion right now. Chuckled at Zach saying, "What are we going to do with everyone at the table? My man is stressed." But I did think it was funny. It's like, what are you asking them for? Like, you're holding them at hostage with a gun. Like, shoot them or something. I don't know. Zach with some elite gaslighting. Bro acts like he didn't have a woman captive and was repeatedly raping her. He's like putting it all on them. Norman zones out as Norma is abused and goes into attack mode. We love to see it. You got to stick up for your mama. This shootout in the house is hilarious. How does the cop get hit like that, goofy ass? I thought it was an intense set of scenes, and I'm ready for the end. Go ahead, Mike.
Norma could have done anything differently. Literally anything. Have sex with him anywhere else, except maybe the same room that she's in. Other than that, any other choice.
I just want
Well, it
to.
was a few doors down, right? It wasn't right next door. Because he went to the door right next door
Some say it
first.
was 3 doors down because he's here without her, baby. Sorry.
Yeah. And that little Chinese girl was his kryptonite because it all came crashing down.
You don't got to be
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
That's also a 3 doors down song. Be like that. Anywho.
I think kryptonite's the only one that I know, so I'm out.
Oh, if you've seen American Pie 2,
You ever heard Here Without You?
Yeah, I've heard it once or twice.
if you've seen American Pie 2 where Jim and Michelle reunite at the fucking band performance, that's also a 3 doors down song. Anyway, just thought I'll let you know. By the way, I just want to clarify. So, because me and Nico have decided to become a tag team here, noted Lost Boys 2 fan Brian Hathaway is complaining about how something looks in this great scene from this episode. Anyway,
Time out. You know
What?
we're not
What are
gonna
you
do-
talking
what We're
about?
not going to do is compare a movie from the 80s.
I said
to a
Lost Boys
television
2.
Oh, well, that movie had the
What?
that movie had the budget of PBS shows. What are we talking about?
I was talking about their fight scene. Is that what you
Yeah.
meant? When I said I didn't like how it looked?
Yeah.
I didn't mean the shooting, I didn't mean the camera shot. I just meant like the stunts, like the fighting, like nothing looked believable. Is what
I tell you
I'm
what
trying
looks
to say, I guess.
believable. Jason X, baby. Anyway, sorry.
Everyone's credibility.
I know. Absolutely. Same with yours and Lost Boys too. Anyway, poor Norman here, man. Like he just never had a chance with Norma being his mom. You know, as we see, trouble always finds them somehow. Just fucking terrible. And again, you know, I mentioned it in the last episode. There are times where I think to myself, maybe Dylan is pushing Norman too hard, but he's never wrong, right? I mean, his mom is crazy. His dad was an asshole. And I agree with you, Nico. I like Freddie Highmore's acting here as Norman. You know, when he's pushed, he kind of gets a little bit, you know, tense, a little bit like that crazy look in his eyes. And I really like it's very subtle when he does it, but I enjoy it. Again, sorry. So I actually like this belt plot. I think it was fine to do. I understand the criticism, but again, I think not having that over their heads has got to be his his way of thinking, and I think it's a good one. But I will say Dylan being convinced that Norman is moving out, he's been smart up until this point in the show. This is the first dumb thing he's ever done. Of course, that motherfucker ain't moving out of mama's house. Come on, dog. And I couldn't do this if I were Norma. If I were in Norma's shoes, I just don't think I could fake my way through this. This whole thing is disgusting. You know where his man, I'm just gonna say it. You know where his dingaling has been, and now it's inside you, and that sounds fucking miserable and terrible. And now that you know what you know, I may have to chop it off. I may have to fucking Kai and tie Val Venus this motherfucker, choppy his pee. That's probably what I would do if I were Norma Bates. Um, sorry, man, I couldn't help it. I mean, and then you gotta let the chips fall where they may. She's already killed one motherfucker that sucks. Why not kill another one? That's what I'm saying. I mean, if she had killed Shelby here, she's knocked down 2 rapists in the town. She's a hero. She's a hero. That's what I say. Fuck Shelby, man. And, Norma ends up basically getting this girl fucking killed, man. Like, I know it was a few doors down, but there's a way where you take them up to the house, like do something else. That girl's there. And I know that she's like on watch or whatever, but I don't know, man. That sounds fucking terrible. I didn't like it, but I liked this scene a lot. I think this is a great scene. The suspense is great once everyone's kind of, sitting around each other and Shelby captures everybody with a gun. I think the acting is great. Finally, the acting behind Shelby, which I know, I'm sorry, but up till this point, I hadn't particularly liked the way the character had been portrayed, but I like it here. And I think Vera is great in this scene. Just she's basically pleading for Norman's life. Again, just shows that connection they have. And last thing I have is Dylan is the only one when he's in the right state of mind with balls. Now, Norman's, he doesn't really count because he blacks the fuck out and does his stuff. But my man Dylan's got some fucking huevos on him. That's all I had.
Yeah, going to the boat here seems reckless to me. Like, they should have had Norman get with Shelby and then go. Like, you got to make sure that he's preoccupied. It's just dumb. Luckily, it didn't matter. It worked out for him. Also, they should have put the screws back in the ceiling. Like, they didn't cover the tracks there. And throwing the belt off the end of the boat was also stupid. You got to think that's going to be the first place Shelby's going to look. Like, you throw a big magnet in the water and boom, here's your belt. You got it again. But I guess at that point, the fingerprints would ever be washed off. I don't know. Shelby hearing the water, that's a wildly tense moment. And Norma's lie was just awful. That's the best she could come up with. She is a woman. She's got experience lying. That's the best that she could do. Come on. Pretty dramatic of Norma afterwards. If you're moving out, I don't care if Shelby kills me. Grow up, lady. I like how it was shot at the table when Norman blacked out and went after Shelby. That was the best shot of the scene so far, or best shot scene that we've seen in the show so far to me. We're really ramping up the story here, so I'm actually excited for the finish of this one.
And here it is. Shelby grabs the other gun, and Dylan somehow escapes all the shots running up the stairs as we cut back to Norma, who is able to drag a still unconscious Norman out of the house. And I mean, at least they're consistent in this show because Norma can move dead weight at a whim, whatever. She's strong as shit. I don't know what to say. They make it to the car, call the police, where Norma realizes she ain't got no damn keys. But we see 3 shots go off in the house, which was a very cool shot, and a figure exiting. It's Shelby with what appears to be a gunshot through his eye. But he's still up and at them. He's able to walk out of the house. He's able to point the gun at them before dropping dead. Shot to the eye in his fucking head, but is able to do this. Holy shit. Dylan runs out of the house, and he and Norma embrace. And he reveals that he intends to tell the police the truth, until Norma reveals, via flashback, the truth behind Norman's father's death. Norman killed him in a fit of rage after his father beat Norma in a fit of anger and has absolutely no recollection of it. I would like to say that a few episodes I did personally say that I saw that coming a mile away, at least 2 episodes ago. But at the end of the episode, Norma confides in Dylan that Norman needs to be protected, just as we see police lights coming up. I'm sure it'll be more than just one cop, too. Definitely not just the sheriff. I'm sure the whole force will be arriving to a call like that, but we'll find out next episode. Sorry to not spoil that for you, Dustin.
All right. Glad Dylan got away safe, but hasn't he watched Scream? You never run upstairs, man. Come on. Norma said, fuck Dylan. To quote Les Barbecue from TikTok and Instagram, I'm out for me and Norman. If you know, you know. I laugh when Norman asked, what happened? My head hurts. Like, dude, come on, man. Norma, she's crashing out like Shane Walsh, not being able to find her keys. We love to see that as well, too. Scary moment seeing the gunshots in the window, watching this back in the day on a weekly releases. I'm sure this was super intense. Seeing Shelby hobble out with a bloody face was haunting, but him conveniently falling over as he gets to the car is a bit annoying. Like, why wouldn't Dylan kill him in the house? Like, I don't know. That didn't work for me either, really. Love the reveal Norma tells Dylan about Norman's dad. Per IMDb, the psychological term for what Norman is experiencing is dissociative amnesia, the loss of memory of a specific event, usually a traumatic one, such as the abuse his mother was suffering under his father. Good for Norman sticking up for his mother, but it is wild he goes in and out of consciousness seemingly when he does these things. Norma, like you mentioned, Brian, must never skip leg day. Dragging bodies around, carrying Kenny's big ass from Scream out the hotel. You go, girl. No, note to everyone who listens, don't skip leg day. Or just be like me, just never go to the gym when you should because you're a fat fuck. Norman is watching the psychologist monologue from Psycho in this flashback scene. To me, a nice nod, but to Psycho purists, this might be frustrating, which I would understand. LOL, Dylan. What's wrong with him? I thought that his line delivery asking what's wrong with Norman was funny. This final stare by Freddy as the episode ends is haunting. Loved it, and I love this episode as well.
Yeah, those gunshots are just ridiculously loud. Like I noticed it in the last set of scenes.
Yeah.
But when Shelby fires the multiple shots in a row here, like it really stood out. Gunshots are loud, correct. But something about the sound that they used just didn't sound right to me.
And it was the exact same sound for every single
for
gunshot.
everyone.
Like nothing was different.
Honestly,
Yeah.
did it not sound like the gunshots you would hear in old westerns?
Yes. Yes.
Like, and I
Yeah.
just watched High Noon yesterday, I think, and I've watched a couple old westerns lately. Just trying to rewatch some classic cinema, and I've heard it a lot. So that's why I was like, man, that sounds like a western. Pretty crappy of Norma to just ditch Dylan like that. Like he saved you and Norman, and you just want to leave him. That's the MFTK award winner of this show. Hearing the gunshots and then seeing a shadowy figure emerge from the house, that was very dramatic. Didn't know who it was. And then we see that's a bloody Shelby. And him pointing the gun and then collapsing was also very dramatic. Good stuff. I get what you're saying, Brian. Like, it might not be realistic that he was shot through the eye and was able to walk out the house like that. But if it didn't kill him, there's a chance that he was just in shock and then the adrenaline wore off and he collapsed. I don't know. I like Dylan saving the day and getting a hug from his mom. That's the first bit of family bond that we've seen from them. And then the cops are on the way. But let me tell you about when Norman's dad died. Come on, lady. Time is of the essence here. That seemed wildly out of place to me. But seeing that it was Norman who killed his dad during one of his blackout episodes, that's a great reveal. I really like that. Something I noticed, though, Sam was Norman's dad, was watching a baseball game at the time. And when we see the game in the background on the screen, it looked like it was moving in 1.5 speed. Did anyone else notice that? Like the pitcher was moving so fast. It was crazy. The cops who worked on that case, they must have been rookies too. Like they would have been able to tell that the body had been moved and that the blood pooling didn't match up with the location. Like most of the blood spilled in the living room, so there wouldn't have been enough under his head in the garage for it to have added up. And how did they not find the blood-stained carpet in the living room? That didn't work for me. But I like that we get more of Norman's psycho alter ego here. Like we're really starting to see what I've been looking for all along. And this episode had more positives than negatives for me, so I gave it a 7.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot here. I really liked this last scene. I liked how it all played out. And again, we're just digging deeper into Norman's psyche here and kind of, you know, unraveling the blackout stuff, which like I told you guys last week, just wait. Be a little patient. Let them cook. This is a weekly episodic television show. You're not getting every single answer you want right off the bat. You have to be patient. Anyway, just thought I'd say that. I think it's funny that Dylan gets shot in the buttocks. I always like that line anytime that happens. And again, this is just a really good scene, man. You know, as far as this show goes so far, this is probably the best scene to happen yet. And It's a lot of action. It's very intense. I'm not like a big chase scene guy, as we know, but this feels like a conflict worth having. And I understand what you were saying at the beginning of the episode, Brian, which was, what's after this? Like, this does feel like a climax of a story arc. So I understand where you're coming from, but my rebuttal, I guess, to how is this not the end of what makes Norman Bates Norman Bates? There's a lot more to go, as you'll find out. So again, just have a little patience, okay? Like, if you're not enjoying the ride, then that's totally understandable. But at least as far as the story goes, there's a lot more to play out. I like that Shelby is fucking dead. He got shot in the face. So fuck that guy. It's hard to be mad at Dylan for the way that he speaks to Norma, because he only knows one side of the story. And understandably, Norma hasn't been the best to him, but she has her reasons, although she's not perfect, as we've already found out, and as we'll come to find out. But uh, again, I like that we're unraveling this blackout stuff. That look that Freddie Highmore gives at the end of the story that Norma tells about how his dad actually died is very, very good. I like that we're getting more glimpses into that, because I think Freddie really shines there. And the perfect casting, like we said at the start of the first episode, perfect casting for what Norman Bates would end up becoming. I think it's like a spot on choice. Couldn't ask for a better actor to step into those shoes. So I like the ending here. I thought it was really well done. Nothing but praise for me for both episodes. I thought 5 had some slower moments, but really picked it up towards the end, and then we're on a rocket ship in episode 6. I thought episode 6 was really, really damn good, and I'm glad that this is where we're kicking off, because as you guys know, when one door closes, another door opens. There's a lot more, and we'll come back to some of this trafficking stuff. I don't think that's a spoiler, but anyway, that's all I had.
We appreciate y'all tuning in. I enjoyed 5 and 6. I think it's been a fine show, but I do understand all the criticisms, and I get it for sure. But I think it's been a good discussion. I don't think we've had a nice discussion episodes in a while, so I'm enjoying them. We appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll be back next week for episodes 7 and 8.
God help me.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Just want to remind everybody,